Guten Tag, and for my English-speaking friends, good afternoon. It's Mikey from Rocking K Adventures, and in today's installment, we'll be working on turning these containers into 4,000 liters of rainwater storage. So, as you can see, bright, sunny, hot, like I said, it is July, and we are in a dry spell. We are forecast to get some rain tomorrow night, and so what I'm hoping to do is have this done so that if we do get any rain, we can have some water to water that dry grass and Mrs. K's garden out in the back. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started on this project. I will be talking about the various steps as we go because I need to take that box of parts and somehow get 4 of these connected, get water coming through the wall from the rain gutters, and have it all watertight and get these containers filled with rainwater so that we can use it out there where it's all dry and save ourselves a little bit of money along the way. I'll discuss that in more detail further on in the video, but please like and subscribe. It's free, it helps out the channel and lets me make more content like this. If I do use anything that I source from Amazon or anything like that, I will actually put links to the products because as you can see, that is an Amazon box. I will link the products if I find value in the product. I will put an affiliate link in the bottom. If I don't find value in the product and you happen to notice that maybe I used it from Amazon, maybe I didn't find it was of value. So my pledge to you is I will only list affiliate links to things that I found value in. And what I mean by value is they worked as intended and that it was, not a piece of junk, basically. So know that if I put a link down in the description, it is something that I have used and I found value in. And like I said, if you click the affiliate link, it'll take you to that particular product. It doesn't cost you any additional. It helps the channel out and I can keep producing content for all the projects that I do around here on the Rocking K Ranch. So without further ado, I must get a hole put in this container at the correct water level so that I can then make a corresponding hole in that back cinder block wall to start catching the water that comes down the downspout from the rain gutters along the back end of the roof. So let's get started. Like I said, I have to drill a hole in this container to attach this fitting into the back of the container. You'll notice this fitting has a rubber washer. We'll place that rubber washer on the outside of the container because if we put it on the inside, there's a chance that the water can leak through the thread area. But if we put it on the outside, it'll actually create a seal around the outside and stop water from leaking through those threads. This is something you can pick up in any of your hardware stores or your Baumarts. It's either in the plumbing section or the Rainwater Collection section out in our garden center. So rather inexpensive, $1 or $2 for the particular fitting, up to, sometimes you might pay a little more, but this you can source from your local garden center, your local hardware store, and we'll put it in at the level we want the water. And so here we go. And unfortunately we dropped the piece into the tank, so I'm gonna have to go ahead and fish that out. I won't show you guys that, so while I fish that out, I tried to get it to come out with the drill bit, but that didn't happen. So let me get that out of the tank. So now that I fished that piece of plastic out of the tank, we can go ahead and put our water hose bib fill into the hole we just drilled into the tank, making sure that the rubber washer is on the outside. And then thankfully I have long arms. I'm gonna reach through the tank and thread this inner portion onto the fitting. Okay, that portion's done. Now, what I'll do is roll this over, put it by the wall, mark the wall for where I want the hole to go out the wall, and then drill the hole in the wall for the fill tube to come in from the gutter outside. So now that the tank's back in place where it's going to be, what we're going to do is the easiest way to mark the center of that pipe that has to go through the wall is going to be to slip the pencil into that pipe and then make the mark on the wall. That's the easiest way that you can mark where you have to drill the hole. Instead of trying to eyeball it and line it up and stuff like that, just take your marking utensil, put it through or back it into the deal, and then you can mark your hole right where that fitting is going to go through the wall. So now with the container out of the way, you can see mark on the wall. That little red mark right there is where I have to put the hole through the wall so that the water can come in and go in that fitting right there and fill that tank up. Okay folks, so the wall I'm going to drill is about probably 10 inches thick, which is a lot longer than this. So to make sure that I can drill it from both sides, I'm going to use a long drill bit first, and I'm going to drill all the way through the wall so I have a spot to start on either side of the wall. If you're dealing with a rather thick wall or something that you know you're not going to be able to drill through in one shot, get yourself the longer drill bit, drill through one side all the way out through the other. This way you have a reference point on both sides on where to start your hole. This way your holes are perfectly aligned. And away we go. Okay, now that we have the hole all the way through the wall, we'll go ahead and drill it to the final dimension. This way we know that our holes will line up. So what I'll probably have to do is drill halfway through the wall from this side and then go around to the other side and finish it off. So it looks like we'll have to go around to the other side and finish it off. The lighting's kind of crazy out here, but you can see here's the hole from the inside that I drilled, so that I can start here from the outside, because like I said, sometimes you're not going to be able to drill it all in one shot. So now I have a reference point to go ahead and drill from out here inside and finish this hole off. Straight on through. Perfect. If you look, that hole went straight on through perfectly. So now that I've cleaned up the mess I made, it's almost ready to put the container back. And as you can see, we got the hole right through the wall perfectly to run that water line to come into the tanks. Okay, now that we have the hole in the wall, we got the fitting in the tank, it's time to put the cover back on and put this tank back where it belongs. So we'll put the cover on, and where this fitting is, we're just going to cut an X in the cover and push the cover down around, and then we'll attach our hose. So there it is, cover's back on. The cover, like I said earlier, prevents algae from growing in the water. No sunlight, no algae. Then here's the hole I cut in the cover. Put the hose on the barb and went ahead and put a clamp on for peace of mind to make sure that it doesn't want to leak around that hose. Just remember folks, this is plastic, so when it comes to tightening it on the tank, you don't want to overdo it, and when it comes to putting a clamp on it, you don't want to overdo it. You don't want to crush this. So now it's time to take that hose, put it through the hole in the wall, slide this bin all into place, and then we have to work on the outside, getting it all plumbed. Okay, there it is. Bin's back in place, or the container's back in place. We go back here. You can see the hose goes right through the wall, and it comes out. Man, look at that view. Right there, where it's going to go ahead and it's going to hook up to our downspout coming from there. So the first step out here is going to be to go ahead and get the downspout started. Figure out the length. We got brackets and everything. For those of you thinking that the paint and everything needs to be done, well, that's going to be happening afterwards. We got to get this all drilled, get it all up, and then we'll be actually taking care of the little pieces of wood that stick out of the wall, that other downspout, and then painting all this whole back. So that's later, but for now we're concerned about getting rainwater and collecting rainwater, so we got to hook up to that downspout and get it through the wall. This is the device that's going to catch the water from the downspout. It has a little bit of the debris filter in it, and it allows the debris to go down the center and catch portions of the water to go ahead and put it in through this tube. So what we have to do is this tube has to be level with the hose that we put through the wall. That'll keep the water level in the tanks at the right height. Once it's full, it'll send it down and along the ground instead of overfilling the bins inside. Okay, with the brackets in place, now it's time to go ahead and cut that downspout. We got our first piece of downspout cut to length. We'll go ahead and put the clamps on it so it'll hold it in place. Now we have to cut the second piece, taking into account the special fill adapter. So this will sit on top, and then when we want to clean it out, we should be able to pick it up and go ahead and clean it out and then put it back on. So we'll get some measurements for the second piece and go ahead and cut that, get some holes in the wall. When we come back, it'll be all together. So there it is with the downspout and the adapter. And as you can see, we tested it out. We poured water up in the top, let it run in the gutter, come down the downspout into the adapter and through this hose. We're going to come up with a little better setup for the hose, because right now the hose is just long enough, but at least if it rains tonight, we're going to get water stored inside of our water barrels. So it is a success. Everything works. Now that's for the collection side. Now we have to come around here, and we only have four of the containers here. So we got to put the other two containers in place, and then I'm going to start connecting them all across the front, and we'll show you how that's done next. Okay folks, as you can see, we got all the IBC containers are all in place. And now what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to connect the bottom water outlet of all of these together, so that at the end we'll have a pump. So to do that, these containers have a 100S connection. Most connections that you're going to find, whether it be at hardware stores or on Amazon, are going to be a 60S. So I had to get a 100 to 60 adapter, and then I got this from Amazon. It's a little more robust on the inside. It has a good portion of plastic and such that this threaded portion is not going to snap off. So I highly recommend these caps. I'll put a link in the description. Plus it has a steel pipe thread on the outside. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use these gardenia connections, and they're a snap fit connection. You unlock it, you push the plastic tubing in, and you lock it, and it locks the tubing into the connection. So we're going to have 3/4 inch tubing that's going to connect all of them. I have a 90 degree for the first one, and then 3 T's for the rest. So I went ahead and pulled this steel fitting out, wrapped it in Teflon tape. I'm going to do the same on the outside here, wrap it in some Teflon tape, and then I'm going to thread it on to that fitting and put it on the last container there on that S100S to 60S adapter. And then we're just going to go ahead and string all the rest of them in the same fashion. And then I'll show you when I'm cutting and fitting the pipe, how that's going to go. So I'll go ahead and prep all 4 of the containers with these connections, and then we'll come back and I'll show you the plastic piping that goes from each fitting to the end. Okay, so now you can see there's a fitting on each one of the rain barrels. And then over here is where the pump's going to be. So we got to come around the corner. So I got some corner pieces. And then this pump will go right about there so that we can pump the water. So now we're ready to go ahead and connect all these bins. So I'm going to be using this plastic pipe that's all part of this system. And what you want to do is, when you measure from point A to point B, you got to add 6 centimeters or about 2 1/4 inches on each end, because you have to make sure that it goes all the way in, and you'll feel it seat up against that fitting. And that's 6 centimeters worth of tubing that's inside the fitting. So when you measure from outside to outside, you're going to have to add 6 centimeters for each end, so a total of 12. So when you're cutting this plastic tube, get yourself a good tubing cutter, and you'll see that it works just like butter. Get a good cutter, and it'll save you time in the long run. So I have the first one ready. So we'll go ahead and try to straighten it out a little bit, as much as we can. That's the difficulty with it coming on a coil. It's kind of bent, so I'll straighten it up a little. Then we'll make our first connection. And like I said, it pushes in quite a long ways. So that's the first one. Then we'll go ahead and we're going to push these over to make the rest of the connections. Just makes it a little easier. And that's the first one done. Now I'll repeat it for the rest, and we'll have to wait for rain to test it out. So another key point, not just straighten it out and stuff, but you can get yourself a reamer for this type of tubing, and it lets you put a nice little bit of an edge on each end of the tubing. This is something you see a lot with PEX and stuff like that. This is very similar to doing PEX. It's a lower pressure type of connection, designed more for sprinkler systems and stuff like that, with an operating pressure of 6 bar. So that's like 60 PSI. So yeah, just make sure that the ends are nice and neat when you're putting them into the connections. Now, as you can see, we have all the connections are done. All 4 of these bins are now connected. Now the The thing is to get around the corner and get it connected to the pump. Okay, there it is. So you can see how I turned the corner, came up, and then went into the top of the pump for the supply. Something to keep in mind with this material is it's meant to be supported. It's actually meant to be buried as well. And the thing is, it's not real sturdy without some support. So I'm going to go along and I'm going to actually brace it up against the back legs of the shelf and everything like that to give it some security. And I'm also putting a board later on across the whole front so that I can't accidentally bump into it and actually break these valves. So they're all connected and they all go to this pump. Now, something to keep in mind is, depending upon your style of pump, if you don't block it off and have some type of shutoff, gravity will empty these right out of the end of the pump. So whether you're hard plumbing it and you put a hose bib or a hose tap, but you need some way of shutting it off. I'm actually putting on an adapter with the little hose adapter with the on-off little toggle switch on it so that I don't have my barrels empty onto the ground. But keep that in mind that you must close the end, especially with this style of pump. So folks, we got this project done. It was not easy. You can see we got all these IBCs. They're all hooked up. It's a hot sunny one here in Rhineland Falls. Beautiful weather, actually. And then, as I showed you earlier, we did the downspout. We did the adapter for the downspout and where the downspout goes in. Again, just like with the other piping inside, I'm going to put a clamp and get this supported to wrap this all up. I'm not gonna video that. I might take some pictures and maybe do a revisit on it because we're due rain on Sunday. So when we get that rain, we'll go ahead and see how this particular system works and how much water we actually get into the bins and if they level out and everything. They should. But we'll wrap it up here, folks. You can hear the church bells off in the distance. That means it's 6:30 my time. It's quitting time. So we were fortunate enough that the next day we got some rain, or we're getting some rain, and you can see it's feeding the rain barrel perfectly. And like I said, this isn't supposed to catch all the water, it's supposed to catch a portion of it, but that's a pretty good flow. It's been raining for about, I don't know, maybe 2-3 minutes, and we already have a flow like that coming in the Reagan or the rain barrels. So after a couple of days of rain, we'll probably have these barrels full. But that's great. It's working perfect, working as advertised. Now we just got to wait for it to fill up enough to see if there's any leaks along this manifold. So now I went and picked up the 2 clamps. And now look at that. It's all perfect. It actually is straight. Just this angle because it comes a little bit towards the wall. But now it's all nice and straight, all nice and secure. And yeah, that looks great. It's Mikey from Rockin' K Adventures. And please click the like and subscribe if you haven't already. It's free. And we'll catch you on the next one.